Professor Amon Moreira for his leadership in hosting this most important event, which will discuss the role of science, technology, and innovation in achieving the SDGs in Africa. Well, in fact, I would prefer to rephrase that in light of the UN Secretary General's recent launch of the Decade of Action. So, it is not merely about the role of STI in achieving the SDGs. The question is how can we position science, technology, and innovation to exercise its catalytic role in accelerating the SDG implementation. I will explain that later. Let me first seize the opportunity to also thank UNECA and all other partners and also sponsors for joining us in making this event possible and successful. This is truly a showcase of teamwork and collaboration. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme for this forum is really spot on. Indeed, science, technology, and innovation are central to the successful implementation of the SDGs and of the AU Agenda 2063. Both these agendas call for transformational change in many sectors such as health, energy, climate change, food security, mobility and transportation, ICTs, water, sustainable cities, and other sectors on top of it. Now, a complicating factor is that all these transformations need to be made almost simultaneously. And that adds further to the complexities in dealing with them. So the SDGs, our science has to be more clever. It calls for a strong positioning of science as foundations for the successful implementation of the SDGs. It calls for strong science to inform policy and for strong policies for science. It calls for a catalytic role of science, technology, and innovation to help leapfrog sustainable development in Africa. Distinguished participants, our world is fast changing. We have witnessed the impact of the 3 previous industrial revolutions. And now the 4th industrial revolution is unfolding as we speak. Rapid technological advancements, high-speed computing, and big data, these are the key drivers of the 4th industrial revolution. Now, these technologies are, in fact, blurring the traditional boundaries between the physical, the digital, and the biological worlds. And this will be impacting all disciplines, economies, and industries. This will lead to profound transformations of how we will work and live in the future. Building on the outcomes of different fora on artificial intelligence organized by UNESCO in, for instance, Morocco and also in Beijing, we look forward to co-organizing a regional conference on artificial intelligence later this year to be hosted in the Republic of Namibia. Now, some of you may ask, is the continent ready to effect solutions?
And let's do it now, so said George Washington Carver, very early in the century. We believe that science, technology, and innovation with the heritage-based education 5.0 framework and pipeline will move Africa forward. The world needs a contributing Africa. The world needs a contributing Africa. The world does not need a begging Africa. It is time for leadership that is characterized by love, peace, prosperity, and happiness. Not time for a leadership that is misguided as hate, selfishness, and confusion. Siyabonga Tathemba iPhela.
Thank you, Minister, for this great speech. You said it. Education, everything must start with good education. So far we have been maybe focusing a lot on numbers, quantity. It's more than time that we focus now on the quality of the education we offer to our children. So thank you very much. You also mentioned the design, meaning a clever education that will produce those who will efficiently address the how and contribute to transforming the continent. You also mentioned the role of industrialization and the industry. And I would like to have a quick survey with you. You know that 1 year ago we launched the Africa Free Trade Area, and that this continental free trade area is supposed, is intended, is planned, you name it, to improve intra-African trading, exchange among Africans. So just a quick survey, how many of you in this room are wearing this morning a Made in Africa item? This is not encouraging. It is not like this that we will transform the continent. And if we produce, thanks to science and technology and innovation, then we are able to transform ideas into industrial programs, and we do not buy our products, we won't be able actually to speed up the process. So, okay, let me make it a little easier. You are not maybe wearing now a Made in Africa item, maybe in your suitcase for those who are coming from or at home. More hands? Yeah. Yeah? At home. That's good. Okay. So please, believe in Africa if you want Africa to move forward, because the brains and the design will not succeed if ourselves, we are not true believers in our capacity to change our destiny. I've been informed that we have a representative of our continental organization, the Africa Union Commission. So maybe let me call upon Mr. Vous prévoyez de parler? Yeah, let me call Mr. Ouedraogo actually to say a few remarks on behalf of the Africa Union Commission, please.
Good morning, everyone. All protocol observed. It's my pleasure on behalf of the Commissioner of Human Resources, Science and Technology, who did not make it, to just say a few words, not only of thanks for inviting the Commission to this very important event, and also to thank very much the organizer for making sure that this happens every year. And of course, it's always difficult to take the floor after such a wonderful speech by a wonderful minister from this country. But his speech gave me words of hope for Africa. It said to us that even if they are little, this hope is starting somewhere, and it will probably snowball into the whole of Africa. As you are all aware, Africa is a wealthy continent. Our traditional knowledge, traditional medicine, all those are wealth, including our mineral resources. And Kwame Nkrumah already told us that the power of science can be used to ensure that our wealth is transformed into more wealth for the benefit of all Africans and the other continents. This was, of course, also mentioned in the Science, Technology and Innovation Strategy for Africa, STISA 2024, which highlight the role of science and technology into addressing some of the key issues, the key challenges that this continent is facing. They include issue of food security and nutrition, agriculture, very important sector for this continent. The need to be able to mitigate the effect of climate change, and also those very important aspects concerning health. As you know that the current crisis on infectious diseases caused by newly developed or newly found viruses, all those, or the effect of all of those, can be combated using science, technology, and innovation. And we all agree that we need to review how we are using our science, starting with education and ensuring that it's something that will be effective in delivering the goods for the African continent. And I think we can achieve it. The speech of the minister is quite, I should say, it's expanding on all the possibilities that is within Africa to really use science for its development. So with these few words, I want to thank again the organizer and ensure that the African Union Commission is, of course, at your service, and the Department of Human Resources, Science and Technology, from which I am the director, are working to ensure that some of the key elements that can really make science be able to achieve Agenda 2063, the SDG, are some of the things we'll be doing through our different policies, of course, under guidance. Again, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Director Ouedraogo, for joining us and welcoming the participants on behalf of the African Union Commission. And you know that delivering the SDGs is also working on the delivery of the 2063 aspiration, and in particular working on the first decade for the implementation of Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. Now, our last speaker for this opening session is a vote of thanks that will be delivered by Mr. Imran Patel. He's here.
Hi, Tishu again. Good morning, and thank you for giving me a few minutes. It's not necessarily a vote of thanks that happens at the end, but what I want to do is extend my thanks to Professor Tagwira, Permanent Secretary, Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Science, Innovation and Technology Development in Zimbabwe, Professor Gijans from the Regional Director and Representative of UNESCO, Mr. Jean-Paul Adam, Director for Technology, Climate Change and Natural Resource Management at UNECA, His Honorable Makudzileshi Madzivira, President of the Youth Parliament in Zimbabwe. The Honorable Professor Amon Murwira, Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development in Zimbabwe, and Dr. Odrago, Director, Human Resources, Science and Technology at the African Union. On behalf of the organizers of the second Africa Science, Technology and Innovation Forum, we would like to thank you both individually and collectively for setting a tone that bodes well for the success of this forum. This forum, you have highlighted collectively, you have introduced some of the key issues that the panels that follow and the rest of the agenda has to deal with, including the key issues of using much more stronger design thinking, focusing on catalytic and transformative change, finding opportunities for dealing with our challenges as a continent in an interlinked way. These global sustainable development goals are not necessarily going to be dealt with individually, leaving no one behind, particularly focusing on young people and women, and driving forward our own unique development path, which were messages that were sent by both Honorable Professor Marwira and Professor Giljan, who highlighted how we can build this catalytic capability, dealing with using opportunities for both bottom-up and top-down approaches to our development objectives and partnerships. We have been reminded by all of the speakers, including the Honorable Program Director, that we require accelerated action to implement the SDGs. We look forward to the announcements that different partners will make, both the individual countries as well as multilateral organizations, during the rest of the program today, that we can then take forward into the African Forum tomorrow. I thank you, the panel, and I wish the panelists, the later sessions that come through, every success in their endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, would like to release the top table and ask them to just come by the backdrop banner for a picture opportunity. And if I may also ask all full ministers here present, visiting and from Zimbabwe, to also come for a picture opportunity. I think at this point we deserve to give a big round of applause for Africa. Big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Young people, I expect you to make a bigger round of applause at the back there, the youthies. We call them youthies here in Zimbabwe. Thank you very much. And of course, all of you watching us via live streaming. Like we said, we're live streaming on the UNESCO Regional Office page. Please share, tag your people back home, tell the uncles, tell the villages, this is what is happening in Zimbabwe at Victoria Falls. We are also on ZBC television and on ZBC online and TechMag television. So please make sure that you tag and you also tweet about this conference. Please smile. There we go. Yes, thank you. Another big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. We may be seated. Thank you. As we move on to the second session, allow me to call Professor Domingos da Silva Neto, Secretary of State for Science, Technology and Innovation from Angola. And the panelists for this session and allow me to call on the following panelists to come through and join us at the top table. Mr. Alexander Chepelkov, Officer in Charge, Division for Sustainable Development Goals, United Nations Department for Economic and Social Affairs. Let's clap hands for them as they come through to take their seating, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Joshua Setipa, Managing Director, United Nations Technology Bank for Least Developed Countries. Dr. Sibongiseni, representative from the Fourth Industrial Revolution Presidential Commission, South Africa. Dr. Moses Cho, Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, South Africa. And the moderator for this is Dr. Sibongiseni.
people who are wondering on the program, we have moved to the high-level policy dialogue on emerging technologies and the fourth industrial revolution as tools for scaling up action. So we have 4 panelists, not 5, and we don't have Mr. Henry Ngale Florencia from, is he here? Is he here?
Yes.
Can you come forward then? I'm not able to see where the voice is coming from. Where is Henry? Come forward, please. Henry is one of the 10 young innovators that have been invited by UNECA, who will be telling you a bit more about what they're doing in a small pitching session. And we hope there are people in the audience who would find this interesting and can identify partnership opportunities, opportunities to support and grow the innovation. So we're looking at the smart diagnostic for food security. Where is you, Henry? You? It's the next session. So Henry is not. Oh, okay. You Moses on the panel. Where's Henry? I heard Henry. Okay, can we give a warm round? So before the panelists start, you're going to take us quickly through what you're doing in the smart diagnostics for food security. You have a presentation or you just going to speak? There is none. All right, the floor is yours.
Our protocol respected. My name is Henry Ngale Florencia. I'm from Cameroon. I grow chicken and use the proceeds to feed my little family. Upon one early morning arriving at my farm, I found out that 3/4 of my chickens were dead. So I was so devastated I didn't know what to do. Upon calling veterinarians to come over, I continuously witnessing losing 1 chicken every minute. So I left for the city in searching for a job. After 7 months, I could not find a job. My beloved mother called me and said, "Hey boy, come over." When I met my mom, she told me that, "I know you are a boy, smart, and have this money, go start your life." So I took the money, I went to a different locality, starting animal feed business because it's less risky. Small me, I received a call from our local university telling me, "We are sending over interns to you so that they can be trained." I was like, wow, that means I'm succeeding. When this intern came, we went to our farmers that we serve and found out that the most pressing problems is critical mortalities and access to market for these farmers. So it became a necessity. We invented the PFMF platform. So the issue is, you just take a photo. It's a mobile app, SMS and USD. You take a photo of any disease of a chicken. It will analyze with the fourth industrial revolution technologies and tell you exactly what is happening in your farm in real time, and also reference you to a veterinary doctor or a veterinary pharmacy so that you can get medication to make sure that you don't go into quarantine. Now, when we started just 6 months ago, we have 18,000 users for the 3 veterinarians on board, 11 veterinary pharmacies, and 1 pharmaceutical company in Cameroon that we are working together. And so we have generated over $83,000 in revenue because our business model is $1 subscription, $1 subscription for every user. The market share worldwide is plus 20 billion. and the serviceable market is plus 12 billion. So there's 8 billion US dollars that is available. But we are ready for 40% of that 8 billion US dollars, and within 5 years. So that's the actual problem. Readily available information on where to know what is happening in your farm. Middlemen also are the problems. They don't have access to ready information. And no easy way existed before on bringing all these people together. So that's what we are solving. We're making sure that everybody in the industry feel comfortable, feel better, and with less time. Now, we are making money when producing, selling, and for the economic and social development. The magic in Cameroon, you just need to text join to 8012, and our team will just call you and set up your account to your preference if you're a veterinarian, if you're a farmer, and if you're a middleman, so that you'll be receiving messages concerning your field if you want to request for buying a chicken, eggs, and whatsoever. So it's simple. It will just cost you less than 100 francs CFA is less than, so far lesser than $1. And we'll be using our existing networks to pilot our solution. Our business model is simple. Because we want 40% of the market share in 5 years, so 40% of 8 billion US dollars will give us $3.2 billion. That's the best case scenario. If we go for 20% of the 40, the 8 plus 8 billion US dollars, we'll have 1.6 million. And if the worst case scenario, we'll go for 2%, we'll have $160 million, because we charge just $1 monthly subscription for every user. We have achieved so many things, but I give a round of applause to my team, which is not a team but a family, because they understand each and every one, and they know that we have to focus on the goal, in making lives better for our community, for our country, for the planet, and in particular Africa. Our competitive advantage is that in 2019, we built the most sophisticated, easy, friendly user platform that existing technologies has not been able, and that's the reason why we are winning. We are looking for 200,000 US dollars. We want to get to 100,000 users within 2020. That's an angel round, and we want to include different livestock like pig, goats, and cows. So, thank you very much, and we welcome you to join the next unicorn business that you'll find on the planet.
My understanding is that the different innovators will be sharing their stories with you during the course of the day, and I see their number are around. They're exhibiting. If anyone's interested, please pay a visit to the stand and have discussions on partnership opportunities. I think the value proposition is clear, the value and the innovation is great. Thanks a lot. As we are running out of time, I want to start off by asking the panel to keep their comments very clear, concise, and in line with the tone set by the opening panel, to focus on the key issue of what needs to be done, the issue of action. I think we have now the full panel. We have an hour. So the way I'm going to design the program is to give people 2 opportunities to say something. First round of between 3 or 4 minutes to highlight some of the work that you're doing, your understanding of opportunities in the 4-hour space, where you have examples to highlight some of those examples. And then I will do a second round, but ask a bit more specific questions to each of the panelists. And then we'll give the opportunity to the audience to possibly ask a few questions, and hopefully that will still get us to completing the hour slot that's been given. So without wasting time, everyone's profiles are in the book, so I'm not going to read the profiles. You can find out those if you want to by reading people's biographies. But I would like to start off by asking Mr. Alexandra Tropelkov from UNDESA to give us a quick introductory comments. Mr. Tropelkov.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased to join you at this high-level policy dialogue on behalf of the Division for Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs. My division serves as a key component at the global level of the science policy interface in the context of the SDGs, and also as the hub of the United Nations Technology Facilitation Mechanism. In my remarks, I would like to mainly draw upon our experience with both of those pillars for SDG action. In the first part of my remarks, I would like to focus on two issues. One is the Global Sustainable Development Report, and the other one is the Global STI Forum. Dear colleagues, at the SDG Summit in New York last September, scientists had an opportunity to address directly policymakers through the medium of the Global Sustainable Development Report, which was produced by the independent group of 15 scientists, including two from Africa, Professor Parfait Elondou of Cameroon and Professor Ernst Foley of Ghana. That report was produced with the support of my division. And the key message was to emphasize the urgent need for transformative pathways to achieve the SDGs. The report clearly shows that science, technology, and innovation are essential components of such pathways, but they have limited impact on their own. They are most impactful when they are directed towards specific challenges, receive support from policymakers, attract focused investment, and garner public support. The report highlights that we will miss many goals and targets if we continue with business as usual approaches. It also emphasizes that to turn this around, we must leverage the interlinkages between goals and targets through strategically chosen entry points where strategic interventions can harness synergies and help mitigate the trade-offs. My co-director, Adam from ECA, has already mentioned those 6 entry points in his remarks, so I'm not going to repeat them, but I would like to add that the report also identifies 4 levers: governance, economy and finance, individual and collective actions, and science and technology that are powerful agents of change to deploy through the entry points. Transformative change can occur when the levers are deployed together in an integrated manner that responds to the context-specific conditions. Thinking of implementation in this way brings trade-offs and tensions, as well as possible synergies into focus. For example, there can be trade-offs between scaling up food production and ensuring the protection of lands rich in biodiversity. There can be trade-offs between ensuring access to energy and reducing CO2 emissions. But these trade-offs cannot be allowed to stand in the way of reaching overarching objectives such as eradicating poverty, ending hunger, leaving no one behind, and ensuring intergenerational equity. And this is where emerging technologies and innovation that underpin the fourth industrial revolution can be key in resolving these trade-offs and generating synergies among goals and targets so that advances in human well-being are delinked from pressures on our natural and social systems. Digital technologies, robotics, artificial intelligence, and automation, biotechnology, and nanotechnology all have broad impacts on the economy, society, and environment, and hence on the SDGs. These new technologies hold great promise for the SDGs. To benefit, we must address gaps in human capacities and physical infrastructure. Distinguished colleagues, science, technology, and innovation for the SDGs have been the subject of discussion at successive sessions of the global multi-stakeholder STI forum, a key part of the technology facilitation mechanism held at the United Nations in New York ever since 2016. Indeed, through a global collaboration across the UN system and with outside experts, DESA puts together a living compendium of policy-relevant lessons and advances, a source of use to all. Over successive meetings, we have discussed challenges and opportunities for collaboration, and we have brought to the fore many encouraging examples from Africa. Let me give 3 examples to demonstrate that technology pathways in developing countries can unfold differently from the historical experience of developed countries. First, Kenya, for instance, has one of the most innovative mobile money markets, in which service providers moved over $20 billion through over 700 million transactions last year. Mobile money agents, integration with banks, microfinance institutions, companies, mega stores, and other setups have built synergy systems on top of the mobile money. Second, there are also highly encouraging signs of bioinformatics and other high-tech areas in Africa. For example, I understand that the Pan-African Bioinformatics Network comprises more than 32 research groups in 15 African countries. Back in 2014, researchers in Kenya and South Africa led the sequencing and genome assembly of the Tsetse fly. These and many others represent a considerable and rapidly expanding knowledge base. Third, the frugal science movement and their open, cheap, and easy-to-use lab tools have been instrumental in such quick progress in African countries. The development of low-cost, open-source laboratory hardware has been particularly successful. The STI Forum provides an opportunity for peer learning and networking, exploring opportunities for replication and scaling up, as well as for forging consensus in global multi-stakeholder setting. African innovators have consistently won several prominent spots on the basis of a global competition to present their innovations at the forum each year. We look forward to welcoming them again at this year's forum to be held on 12-13 May 2020 in New York. In fact, I encourage all of you to consider participating in the forum, whether through applying for the innovation competition, delegating a minister to attend, or showcasing your work in a side event. Let me conclude my first part of remarks here, and I hope that you will give me an opportunity to come back with follow-up ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me give a warm thank you. I'm sure we will find opportunities. Just for people information, we have combined the first two panels into one. So we will focus more broadly on emerging technologies, science and technology, and creating the enabling environment. And we also want to give an opportunity for Ms. Odette Bahati, who was the second of the 10 innovators who will do a small pitch session. I would just want to ask Ms. Bahati, if she's here, to make her way to the front, and we'll give an opportunity to present after the next speaker, who I would want to invite now to make introductory comments to Prof. Domingos da Silva Neto, who is part of the first panel. So you can both reflect on both panels in terms of your introductory remarks. Prof.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for this opportunity, and let me to introduce into how Angola is implementing STI policy, looking at the National Plan for Development, and also at the agendas 2030 and 2063. First of all, I need to stress that policy documents in Angola were approved in 2011, but the first stage of implementation started in 2013. We implemented for first 5 years, and by the end of this period, we carried out an evaluation. It was not so very good because the overall mark was acceptable because mainly of financial constraints. But when we started the implementation, the main constraint was human resource. But by the end, we understood that the financial constraints were the most important. From that time, at that time was recommended the creation of a national fund, and now we are creating a national agency for STI. From 2017, we are in the second stage of implementation, and the main actions were included in the National Plan of Development. But the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology drew a very specific strategy to define how to implement the main action so we could reach the goals and the objectives. From one hand, highlighted in the National Development Plan, and from other end, to reach the goals, SDG goals, and also the pillars that they are stressed in STISA, Africa Strategy for Science, Technology and Innovation. Now, I can stress some constraints that we need to overcome, and the national level, we still have the financial constraints and the lack of human resource, and we need also to overcome the bad practices to reach more efficiency. I think that we think that Africa Union, UNECA, could play a very important role to help countries to improve the implementation from work. I remember when I was doing a postdoctoral study between 1990 and 2002 at Lisbon University in Portugal, the experts from Brussels, from European Union, came twice. I was there for 4 years. They came twice to see how Portugal was implemented, or was trying to reach the goals. But I think we have some missing in this way. We never received, for instance, in Angola, experts from African Union or even from UNECA to help us maybe to improve our framework. But we need, I think the situation is common for other countries also. What we are doing to reach innovation or to create innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem. We, in December 2018, we firstly organized the meeting between university and the existing in the society startups and also incubators. We recommended our approach to avoid the financial constraints is to recommend the university to host the already existing startup in the society. And it will help not only to avoid the financial constraint, but even the lack of human resource with good skill to put in place programs for innovation and entrepreneurship. At the moment, we have 3 universities that are working, and also we are reaching in agreement with the Netherlands to help us for better implementation of this frame. We are also mapping ideas, prototypes, and the product to improve and later to translate to industry. I think this is enough for now.
Thank you. And apologies, there's a lot to share, but let's see if we can get through it as rapidly as possible. Next, I would want to call Dr. Zimbabwe to make her comments on the Fourth Industrial Revolution Presidential Commission in South Africa.
Good morning, ladies and gents, honorable guests, Minister, all protocol observed. My name is Dr. Sibongiseni Tinzalana Tuzejane, coming from South Africa. I form part of the Presidential Commission on the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Our core mandate as a commission is to get together specialists from academia, private sector, small, medium enterprises, citizens, society, so that we can create a national strategy in order to find out who we are as South Africa and what are the things that we could do in order for us to create and develop a national strategy on the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Myself as Sibongiseni, I am a big data analytics specialist. I've got a PhD in information systems. I come from a rural area called Makhanda. It is the former Grahamstown of South Africa. I started my education starting from a Bantu education backstep. We didn't have education 5.0 at the time. So through having that background, I had to find a way to say, with that kind of background and also without the platform that enables me to be where I am, what do I do? So along the way, I met mentors along the way, so that I can understand what can I do, what value can I add in terms of our country, in terms of myself, to actually craft a path that leads to innovation and invention as a person. Without any formal and knowledge in how to do this, one of the things then that I came across, I said I wanted to be a person who creates big data analytics strategy and model so that it could solve our intrinsic problems that we have as a country. As a country, we are underpinned by a National Development Plan and an NDP 2030 in South Africa, where we find ourselves as a country, we are plagued with inequality We are plagued with poverty, and we're plagued with a high rising number of youth unemployment. That was a starting point and a backdrop of understanding our plight and who we are as South Africa. In understanding this, we also have a constitution that is underpinned with a background that's not fully contextualized in who we are after our democracy in 1994. So then the Constitution of South Africa, it leaves open a room that how can we find a way to actually challenge the current Constitution in order for us to make sure that the Constitution is inclusive of every single race and creed that is in South Africa. Then we're also underpinned by principles of Batupili, and also we are underpinned by the Sustainable Development Goals as developed by the United Nations. So our response to the fourth industrial revolution as a country, we see it as an era. It's a point in time. It is happening right here and now, whether we believe it or not. It's where we converge the physical space, the biological space, and also the digital spaces in order for us to create services, products that actually solve our socio-economic context. So the whole thing of our national strategy of 4IR in South Africa is to actually answer the plagues and the inequality, the poverty, and the youth and unemployment that we have. So our starting point and the view and the driver of 4IR in the country is to say, as we look at ourselves as South Africa, we have a wealth of minerals. We have cobalt, we have lithium batteries, we have gold, we have all the wealth of having the expanding youth bulge. Knowing our strengths as a country and the things and the value proposition that set us apart as a country, it means then we need to leverage on the things that make us strong, which is our mining, our education, our health sector, and our safety and security sectors. So therefore, we've decided that we're going to focus on our strengths and also focus on the indigenous knowledge systems that we can build, because we've also got an advantage of human capital. We've got brilliant scientists and we've got brilliant human capital in the country that can actually invent and innovate. For example, the invention of the world's first digital laser comes from South Africa. And also the world's first big data analytics implementation and adoption process model in the world comes from South Africa, and I'm the person who actually invented it in Canada. So from the rural areas of Makanda and of different indigenous areas, there are people who can rise above their circumstances and actually create world's first innovations and inventions that are used by the world. So my invention, after I was testing it in 5 different countries, I tested it in Finland, in Canada, in the United States of America, in the UK, and in South Africa. Google wanted to employ me as a person, right, in 2008. And I said, no, I don't want to be employed by Google. I actually want to be that person who creates prosperity and wealth creation without any funding and without any support. And I'm not taking any funding from you. I want to be the one who creates jobs. I want to be the one who wants to help other young people create wealth and create prosperity and not be employed by people. So the confidence levels that you need to create as a person need to be part of the 4IR skills. So 4IR skills not only speaks to the innovation and the invention that we create, it speaks to knowing who you are, knowing where you come from, knowing that you're capable and confident and you can, and also, if you are creating wealth and prosperity, who would want a job? If you're using your skill and your strength and what you're gifted with, knowing exactly your value proposition as an African, knowing that the invention and the innovation that you create your IP and you create your patent, you register it and you commercialize, why would you then need a job as an African? So again, we need to socialize and open up our mindsets of our young people, because we are actually conscious. We know that we can create. We know that we can assist each other to participate in the economy and also create wealth at a premium. We publish our confidential and private information on social platforms, on work platforms that are built by people who we don't know where they come from, we don't understand the terms and conditions. Every single day, every one of us is giving away precious and valuable and pricey data that comes back and be sold to us in one form or another. As the SADC and Africa as a whole, we need to understand the concept of data sovereignty. Each and every single country needs to own their data. They need to know the private and confidential data, the IPs and the patents and the data that actually commercialize, how to actually secure and protect that in order to ensure that you're not giving away data that will come back to you as an invoice. We need to also own our infrastructure. We need to have a SADC-owned satellite. We need to, in the next 5 years, be sending a satellite to orbit that we own. This we can achieve. It's possible and it's feasible. When we have our own SADC-owned satellite, it will mean that we will have every single citizen in the SADC having free and quality internet connectivity, so that we can actually achieve economic participation of our citizens that is ethical. And also that means that we can do all the amazing, cool things that 4IR promises, that we can have genome editing, we can prevent sicknesses and cure them using 4IR. We can actually now have precision agriculture where we know the seasonalities and also be aware of climate change of our areas so that we can produce food security for our people and make sure we have safety and security for our citizens. But then if we don't have and own the infrastructure, it's coming from some place. Actually, there are satellites that are scanning and looking at our minerals and know exactly where they are, and they send back information to the people who promised you a free satellite. Africa, we must stop taking freemiums without understanding the terms and conditions. If you're not the owner, you will be finding yourself on the menu. Africa, let's get off the menu and start designing and developing the menu. Access and benefits sharing. Every single African must have access. If we're going to have a free trade zone, whose technologies and whose infrastructure are we using? How are we going to make sure that we have our own currency, cryptocurrency, that is African shared? It's possible that on blockchain, we can create our own currency called cryptocurrency and name it whatever we want to name it. So have we thought about then the ownership of the platforms and making sure that we have interoperable laws and interoperable ICD legislation and framework that we can work together towards our goal of Made in Africa. Thank you very much.
On that note, can we give the high table one more round of applause? Thank you for your insights. I'm sure that the rapporteurs and others are capturing this and will feed this into the final resolution. Without breaking then, can I ask Victor to come up and facilitate the last session before lunch?
Good afternoon. It's no longer morning.
Good afternoon, everyone. So welcome to this last session before we break for lunch, which is focusing on open innovation platforms to accelerate knowledge sharing, innovation, and technology development. The session will have 4 speakers, and as per usual, we'll have a speaker who's one of the 10 innovators that have been recognized by the UNECA. We'll have 2 platforms that will launch, and we'll have someone who'll speak to a book that will be shared with the participants. So without further ado, perhaps we can call Professor Daryl van Groenen from the Nelson Mandela University in South Africa to talk to us about an app called Ngediso. Shall we give her a round of applause, please?
Good afternoon, Molweni Namke. I am here hopefully to produce to you an app that has not only that has taken Africa off the menu and has put us on the program, so that we're just very sure about that one. And this is also an example of science and technology in society. So this app predominantly is health information at the press of a button. Ngediso is the isiXhosa word for help. So why did we come up with this idea? Essentially, it can be used in medical emergencies. So many of you have probably gone walking around enjoying the beauty of Zimbabwe, going to the falls, etc. I was wondering how many of you know how many species of snakes we have here? I counted yesterday about 57. So do you know what to do when you're bitten by a snake? Or if someone were to suffer cardiac arrest here, suddenly in front, have an epileptic fit, a stroke, do you know what to do? The answer is, let's download this app. So we identified a need for having an app to provide information at the press of a button, but medical type information. We have approximately 2 million community healthcare workers on the continent, and we know that their training extends from 3 days to about 3 months. They do not have the time or the place to go to be upskilled. When you speak to them, they will say to you that they have not learned the latest techniques in terms of symptom identification, first aid. We've got new viruses, there's the coronavirus. Will a community healthcare worker working out in a remote area know how to identify the symptoms? The chances are probably no. So we need these kinds of lookup tools to assist people. Who are the beneficiaries of this app? A large percentage of people who live in the rural parts of Africa. About 80% of our population lives in rural parts of Africa. Also, of course, our 2 million community healthcare workers. And then we have a very large group of vulnerable people who are dependent on public healthcare. And let me not get into the topic of healthcare, because we all know how that is. The impact of this is that it will give you quick access to information, but also it will allow you to have quick responses to symptoms and potential medical emergencies. I see there are ambulances outside here, but we're quite a large delegation. Imagine if someone were to fall down here, how long would it take to get someone from the ambulance team here? Whereas if you have the app, you can have a look and see what to do. The uniqueness is that it is lean on data. It works in an offline mode. You download it once and you can use it offline. And then of course, it is uniquely African, focused on African diseases and African medications. In Africa, for Africa, by Africans. Very important. What are the strengths? It's simple and easy to use. It's easy to deploy. It can be used with people with limited literacy levels, and it has a very visual user interface. So finally, where are we with this? We've had about 4,000 plus users download the app from the Google Play Store. Yes, sorry, it is not on iOS. The majority of people use Android. It is free to download in the Play Store. We're seeking partnerships to create an awareness, advocacy of this app, and to increase the user base. Let us get it out there and help people to understand what they can do. Sponsors, always welcome, because we would want to update this, add additional functionality, and of course explore potential business models, not for the public healthcare sector, but for private healthcare sector. So finally, the new functionality that we wish to add, should we come to some sponsorships, is to allow this app to identify the immediate healthcare facilities closest to you when you are accessing the app. Also to then connect to that healthcare facility in real time. And let's dream big and see if we can get them to dispatch help to you. If you like what you've heard, please, there's the app now in the Google Play Store. If you have a barcode scanner, you can scan the QR code and download it onto your app. Thank you very much, Nkosi kakhulu.
Our next presentation is from Philippa. Okay. Philippa is one of our top inventors in our biomedical engineering initiative. She's won several awards, both at the global level, at the regional level. And she'll be presenting the regional platform that enables young people and a lot of our researchers to collaborate. We are saying, how do we work together? And here is one part of the solution.
Good afternoon, everyone. My presentation is on the European Union Africa Open Innovation Platform called EUBORA. And I'm Philippa Makobore, as I've been introduced, and I work for the Uganda Industrial Research Institute in Kampala, Uganda. So just a little bit of a background on how this infrastructure was created. It's a team of researchers from academic institutions as well as research institutions. There are two African partners, Uganda Industrial Research Institute and Kenyatta University. Then we had European universities, University of Pisa, that was the coordinator. We had a university in Estonia and Universidad de Madrid in Spain. Then we also had University of Tartu, KTH in Sweden, and a software development company called Agile Works in Estonia that developed the software for us. So essentially, this is a platform that's supposed to encourage innovation through education. So it has been implemented in biomedical engineering design schools, but it also has the potential for industry applications. We have also signed a KAWA declaration, and this is the belief that if medical devices are open source, meaning that the blueprints can be freely shared and implemented by people with the requisite infrastructure, we can actually improve access to affordable and appropriate medical devices worldwide. So just to give you a snapshot of the infrastructure, this is the landing page, and I will share the website so that you're able to explore the platform a little bit more. So right now we've implemented clinical needs and device projects. So you may be a clinician or a practitioner and you have a particular problem. So you can actually upload that information to the platform and identify members with the requisite expertise to partner with, such that you're able to design a solution. Device projects are mostly for developers who have already figured out a solution and they're willing to populate it on the platform. We also have another section that we're going to implement, resources, where people can upload research and baseline data that can inform some of the solutions that are being designed. So these are just examples of some of the projects that are there. So you see splints, you see syringe pumps, there are several different projects that are already live on the platform. So I'm going to just give you an example of one of the projects we created through this platform at Uganda Industrial Research Institute, and it's a portable neonate warmer. So that's the outside casing, but it does have several components. So essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to tackle hypothermia in rural areas, in particular eastern Uganda. So access to health facilities is not quite is such a big challenge because there are a lot of children who are born in rural communities that are hypothermic and they're transported to a health facility, but usually it's too late. So we wanted to create a transport carrier that would provide the necessary warmth as well as a safe casing, because a lot of children are transported via motorcycles or bicycles, such that the child is safely transported with the requisite warmth and can reach the health facility and seek the care that's required. So this is just an overview of what a project would look like on the platform. So you'd have the clinical need, you'd have the clinical areas, the technology, which area it would fall under. In this case, it's a warming device. Then we also have keywords for the project and also a brief description. So I'll quickly go through the work packages. So there are several work packages that the innovators would go through to populate, so that you have a very clear understanding of what you're trying to develop. So a very unique aspect of this innovative platform is it's underpinned by European medical device standards. So it has inbuilt algorithms for you to appropriately classify your device in terms of risk and also understand which medical device standards are relevant to what you're developing. So you'll go through questionnaires that are carefully designed by people who are in the medical device industry, such that you're able to get that information, and that informs your initial systems requirements. And this saves a lot on time as well as expenses. So instead of developing a device that you're now trying to make it compliant, you start right at the beginning with designing an appropriate device that meets some of the minimum safety and performance requirements. So there's also a section where you're able to upload all your blueprints. So here you can see schematics have been uploaded, any printed circuit board files. So this can be shared within the community, such that if I, for example, have a 3D printer, I can just download the STL files and upload it on my 3D printer, and I'm able to replicate whatever you've created. So that way we're able to freely share and also manufacture in any setting that has that requisite infrastructure. There's also a section for members, and you're able to also invite members. And this platform is also carefully controlled by mentors. So these are experts in the industry that are able to review each work package and then approve that work package and then unlock the next section such that you're able to continue your development. So it's very carefully controlled and monitored. Then at the end, the last tab, it has a list pretty much of the history, so all your activity. And I think this is also very important for you to keep track of changes that are being made, assignments that are being given to several different members, and any changes that are happening in the project, such that you have good due diligence. So thank you very much for your attention. So that's the Ubora platform. You can go to www.ubora-biomedical.org and you can explore the platform and also read a little bit more about the project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Philippa. So the challenge to you is to use all of these platforms that have been made available. So without any further ado, I'd like to present Ms. Michelle Harding, who is from the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research in South Africa, and she will present to us an innovation bridge portal which illustrates innovations for SDGs. Over to you, Michelle.
Thank you very much, Mumpe, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start off my presentation by introducing you to the Innovation Bridge portal, where after my presentation will focus on the current as well as the future offering of the Innovation Bridge portal as it pertains to the Sustainable Development Goals. So please join me in watching the following video as I welcome you to the Innovation Bridge portal. It will happen now.
Welcome to the Innovation Bridge portal, a free online matchmaking platform connecting local and international technology innovators, users, and funders. The Innovation Bridge Portal is a unique online platform that creates a broad, enabling environment where innovation networks and partnerships can develop to become industrious and commercially viable. The Innovation Bridge Portal, therefore, endeavors to pull together on a single virtual platform all the actors and elements that co-determine innovation. How is this achieved? Various interventions such as innovation challenges, innovation networks, and innovation awards are employed to create and strengthen links between innovators, technology users, and funders that are well matched. In other words, the Innovation Bridge Portal provides an intellectual property marketplace that matches solutions with problems and highlights problems that are seeking solutions. A powerful matchmaking algorithm strengthens the collaboration enabling muscle of the Innovation Bridge Portal. It matches funding opportunities, support services, technology needs, and technology solutions in order to foster routes towards successful commercialization. 4 pillars are supporting the functions of the Innovation Bridge Portal. A human curator oversees all the content on the portal and interacts with users to provide tailored support. A personalized user dashboard provides a space to manage your content, make use of relevant tools, monitor interest in your content, and access requests from interested parties who want to collaborate. Automated matchmaking enables you to interrogate possible beneficial matches and pursue those that are most relevant to you. Finally, a user-friendly interface provides a simple, reliable, and intuitive system. There are absolutely no costs associated with using the Innovation Bridge Portal, other than the time it takes you to upload your information and offerings. So log on and participate in this dynamo explosion of innovation collaboration. www.innovationbridge.info.
Thank you so much. I'm just waiting for my next slide. There it's coming. Great. So in addition to the 3 main entry points into the Innovation Bridge Portal, which are available technologies, funding opportunities, and support services, we also offer a dedicated page for the Sustainable Development Goals. If you would please indulge me, I'd like to just quickly demonstrate the page to you. Sorry, I'm told the internet is a little bit slow. All right. So our page gives a visual representation of all 17 of the SDGs with a hover over function so that it gives you a short explanation of each of the SDGs. When a user selects a specific SDG, it opens a new page on the portal which displays only those technologies, funding opportunities, and support services that endeavor to contribute towards that specific SDG. You can go back to my presentation, thank you. In the near future, we are hoping to also bring onto the SDG page a view per country as well as a view per region functionality in order to allow our users a broader view of information. We've also thought it pertinent to augment the online marketplace on the portal, and therefore we want to introduce also technology as well as skills needs on the portal. We invite you please to come and talk to us throughout this forum. We would very much love to hear your ideas, your requirements, as we are now embarking on another phase of development for the Innovation Bridge portal. The opportunities available to the African Union community at this stage includes the provision of a mirror portal per country. In this slide, we tried to depict how a mirror portal could look like for Zimbabwe. And in essence, what this means is that it provides countries with the opportunity to showcase its offerings on a separate platform, whilst all the data will still be duplicated on the main Innovation Bridge portal. Thank you very much. I think my last slide, yes, there it is. So please, you are welcome to email me. We will be here throughout the event. Please come and talk to us on the portal. If you can, go onto the portal, register as a user, play around with our dashboard. You can have a look at what technologies and support services are already available on the portal. We're really hoping to build the content or the database of this portal exponentially. This portal can really dynamically have so much more bigger potential and contribute to what the SDGs when we do have technologies, funding opportunities and support services coming together. And in doing that, we can also link researchers and innovators with each other. So I thank you very much for your time.
Sorry that we are keeping you from your lunch, or your lunch from you. We have one more small thing to do, so may I call Frederick Madiviza? We have actually a book launch. Frederick? Has he disappeared? We are about to launch your book without you.
Remains wanting until we deliberately develop our own content, in the digital labor markets and jobs of the future. The purpose of my book, ladies and gentlemen, is to provoke a new conversation around the critical role digital human resources can and should play in driving the continent's fourth industrial revolution. I believe that digital transformation, industrialization and modernization of Africa are functions of digital labor markets based on the content that we develop on our own. My view is that investment into this space, Honorable Minister, should be increased without any excuse. In the book, I advance the argument and proposition that the imminent massive decimation of traditional jobs on account of automation and the disruptive power of emerging technologies can be mitigated by purposely redefining the concept of work, creating jobs of the future that suit the new realities of the gig and digital economy in our digitalized Africa. Sooner than later, it will become a violation of human rights to disconnect any child from the internet. Apart from this book, I've also published 2 other books in the cyber-physical space and am currently working on an even bigger project than this one to generate digital content for the 4th industrial revolution for our institutions of higher learning. My humble request to you, ladies and gentlemen, is for you to open your doors for me and my team when we eventually knock at your doors in pursuit of this continental goal. Let us collaborate in helping our future generations, the digital natives, to express their full digital potential and talent as they design their own future through deployment of emerging technologies. Lastly, allow me to profoundly thank the organizers of the forum and the Zimbabwean Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development for according me such a truly humbling honor to launch my book at this auspicious occasion. Your support is immensely cherished. May the good Lord bless you. The title of the book is Digital Labor Markets and Jobs of the Future for 21st Century HR Practitioners.
Thank you, Sam, for the book, for finding time, studying a lot of things, looking at our country, its problems, looking at our continent and its problems, and coming up with such a wonderful book. This is not a luxury. It is indeed a need. Thank you once again. I'm going to give the book to selected people who I have here. The Honorable Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development, you have your book. His Excellency Mukudzeishe Madzivire, Child President, Professor Joyce Ndalichako, Minister of Education, Science, Technology, United Republic of Tanzania and Sector Chair of SADC. HE, here is your book. Mr. Jamal Becker, State Minister of Innovation and Technology of the Republic of Ethiopia. Okay, the Ethiopian one. Okay, Professor P. Mafumo, Vice Chancellor of the University of Zimbabwe. Professor Mafumo. Mr. Jean Paul Adam, Director of UNECA. Mr. Iman Patel, Deputy Director General, Socio-Economic Partnerships, Department of Science and Innovation of South Africa. Professor Mathieu Jeton Zibazenkana, Head of Science Unit, UNESCO Regional Office for Southern Africa. His Excellency Professor Sarah Enwe Agbo, Commissioner AUC. Okay, these ones have not taken. I give them to. Okay. Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Shall we give a big round of applause for Africa, for this convergence of ideas, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. It's been a long day, long morning, up to lunch now. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to announce that we're now going to lunch, and then straight after lunch we'll go to the parallel sessions, not in this room, but if you go out, as if you're going out of the hotel, there's a cold place, convergence area called Chipala, about 4 meeting places that are there. That's where we're going to meet for the afternoon parallel sessions, just on the left of the main entrance to the hotel is where we will find each other. Honorable Minister, your ushers, if you may lead the top line, please, out to lunch.